Welcome back into Scotland, and I think the first time at St Andrew's Club. Will you welcome, please, Dave Burland.
It's a song. It's a song called "The Brisk Young Widow," in which I think it's really nice sentiments in this song, because it's a wealthy farmer tries to court this woman and marry her, and she won't have him, and she marries a scruffy collier instead. I'd like to dedicate this to Arthur Scargill. He lives quite near to me, actually. In Chester town there lived a brisk young widow, for beauty and fine clothes none could excel her. She was proper stout and tall, with her fingers long and small. She's a comely dame withal, she's a brisk young widow. At length there came that way a wealthy farmer, with his hat turned up all round, he thought to gain her. My dear fellow of you, well, the wide world I'd go through, if you would but prove true, you should wed a farmer. Oh no, I'm not for you, nor no such a fellow. I'm for a lively lad with lands and riches. It's not your hogs and yows that can maintain the billows. All me silk and satin clothes, they're all me glory. Oh madam, don't be coy for all your glory, for fear of another day and another story. If the world on you should frown, then your top knot must come down to a linsey woolsey gown, where isn't then your glory? At length there came that way a scruffy collier, with his hat turned up all round, he soon did gain her. At that the farmer swore, they said the widow's maid's I'm sure, and I'll never court no more a brisk young widow. This is an Irish song called "The Banks of the Bann." It's basically about this fellow who sort of develops all neuroses and complexes because he feels that he hasn't got enough money to court this young woman who comes from a very wealthy family. It's a very similar thing happened to me, actually. As my wife told me that her father was a landowner, it turned out he owned some pigeon huts and allotments, you know. Which really is owning land where I come from, anyway. It's a very interesting place where I come from, Barnsley in Yorkshire, actually, because our landlord, the bloke who rents me my hovel, is a millionaire Labour councillor, and I don't think there's any answer to that at all, really. It's a very cockeyed sort of system. It's just like this, like that. When first to this country a stranger I came, I placed my affection on a maid that was young, she being fair and tender, her waist small and slender, kind and fortunate informed her for my overthrow. On the banks of the Bann, it was there I first met her. She appeared like some jewel, or Egypt's fair queen. Her eyes, they were like diamonds, or the stars brightly shining. She's the fairest of all in this wide world I've seen. And it was her cruel parents that first caused her variance, because she is rich and above my degree. But I'll do me endeavour to gain me love's favour, although she has come of a grand family. Oh, me name it is Delaney, it's a name that if I'd have saved money, I'd never have roamed but drinking and sporting, night rambling and a-courting are the cause of me ruin and me absence from home. Oh, had I the riches that are in the Indies, or half of the treasure that's in the Queen's store, it's there on the banks of the lovely Ben River, in all kinds of splendor I'd live with my dear. There's a song called George Collins, which I think is a very strange song actually, because it's a very weird story in that it's all about this fellow who's courting about 6 or 7 women at a time, and one of them takes exception to it, which is a very unfeminine reaction, I would have thought. And she decides that she's going to do this fellow to death by witchcraft, you see, and she collects pieces of his skin out of the bath after him, Saturday nights and things like that, and his toenails. She does him to death eventually, and then in a superb example of feminine logic, unparalleled in folk song, she dies of remorse immediately afterwards, which seems to make the whole thing a rather pointless bloody exercise, really. But the tune comes from the Appalachian Mountains, which I think is somewhere near where Mike Harding lives, in Horton in Ribblesdale or somewhere like that. There you go. But I was always bad at geography anyway. It's a good song. You like this? It's one of my favourites. Right. George Collins rode out one May morning, when May was all in bloom, and they espied a fair pretty maid of washing on a marble stone, and she's hooped, she's hollered, and she's hired a voice. She's held up her lily white hand, "Come hither to meet George Collins," she says, "for your life it will not last you long." So he's put his foot on the broad water side, and over the lee sprang he, is embraced around the middle so small, and he's kissed her red rosy cheeks, and George Collins rode home to his father's own gate. "Rise up, mother, and let me in, and I will trouble min dear sister, for a napkin to tie round me head, and if I shouldn't chance to die tonight, as I suppose I shall, then bury me under the marble stone that's against fair Eleanor's wall." Fair Eleanor sat in a room so fine, as sewing at a silken skein, and there she espied the fairest carriage and corpse that ever the sun shone on, and she said unto her Irish maid, "Whose corpse is that so fine?" "Oh, that is the corpse of George Collins," she says, "who once was a true love of thine. Then put him down, you 6 pretty boys, and open his coffin so fine, that I might kiss his red rosy lips, as 1,000 times kissed mine, and go upstairs and fetch me the sheets that's woven with the silk so fine, and hang them over George Collins's hand. Tomorrow they shall hang over mine. The news it was carried into London town. 'Twas wrote on London gate that 6 pretty maids died all on one night. And all for George Collins's sake. This is a song which was written by Richard Thompson, who used to play with Fairport Convention for a couple of weeks. And it's from his LP, which is entitled Henry the Human Fly, which is well worth buying. It's a pity nobody sort of clicked onto it, because any bloke who can write a song with a title like The Angels Took My Racehorse Away can't be all bad, I reckon. You must have some talent. This is quite a quiet one of his, called The Old Changing Way. Oh, it seems to be nearer. I'm Darby the Tinker, my brother is Tom. We go where the work is, my boys, and we work where we can. With the mending and fixing, it's together we'll stay. Intending our fortunes to try on the old changing way. We come to your cities, we call on your wives, we fix up your kettles, please dear missus, we'll sharpen your knives. And we always agreed it's together we'd stay, intending our fortunes to try on the old changing way. Times they grew scanty, the money grew thin. We worked for a song, but the money it didn't come in. Now brothers are kindred, but hard times betray. And so we stumbled apart on the old changing way. We never agreed to divide our tin. But when you're out of luck with your brother, your hard times begin. For the spikes and the brothels, they're painful to see. But don't you travel alone, me boys, take this warning by me. You must share with your nearest till the end of your days. Or else it's forever, you must roam the old I was playing at a place called Chichester recently, which is very far down south, quite near the equator. Which is a place well worth avoiding if you get down there. And if you do happen to be unfortunate to be there, you want to avoid beer called Brickwoods, because it's unbelievable. It's incredible. I think the ingredients are hops and lepers and water and things like that. You know, it's really sad. It is. I was playing at this place called Up the Hole in the Wall, which is very drafty. These are the jokes, folks. And there's this old fella comes along called George Belton, who was he's one of these manufactured English folk dance and song society traditional singers, you know. I mean, they've been out and taught him a few songs and then recorded him and things like that. But he's a really nice old guy, actually. And he sings. He came along that night in his shades and his denim cap and his Levi's and his guitar slung across his back and sang a few songs. And one of them he sang was one called the Bull Fisherman, which is quite a common song. But the way he did it, I was really interested because he sort of altered the rhythm of the lines and the time of the lines, you know, and it wasn't a mistake because he did every verse, you know, and I thought, that's pretty great, you know, I was really interested, and I tried to sort of do what he did on the guitar and failed miserably, you know. The way I sing it's bloody washout, actually, but it's one of the few new ones I've learnt this past sort of 10 years, you know, so I thought I'd sing it anyway. It's called The Bull Fisherman. It's like this, like spoon jar, jar, spoon. As I walked out one morning fair down by the riverside, there I beheld a fisherman come rowing on the tide. Good morning to you fishermen, what brings you fishing here? I'm come a-fishing for me lady's sake, all on this river clear. And he's rowed his boat all to the bank and tied it to a stake, and he's walked up to this lady fair, her lily white hand and take. Then he's took off his morning gown and laid it on the ground, and she espied 3 chains of gold around his neck was bound. Then she fell down on her bended knee. Your pardon, sir, she cried, in calling you a fisherman come rowing on the tide. And he's walked up to this lady fair, said, down, down, don't be, for not a word that you haven't said the least offended me. For I'll take you to my father's house, and married we shall be, and you shall have a fisherman to row you on the sea. is a favourite song of mine. It's about body snatching, which is going to be very big this year. It's going to catch on, I'm sure. It's one of my favourite hobbies, actually, because when I get a day off, you know, like a Saturday or something like that, I'm going to Woolworths in my flat cap and my long raincoat and my perspex fronted trousers, and you can really sort of sublimate and liberate your head and things like that. Oh, it's really good. But it'll catch on, definitely. Well, it's caught on already in Barnsley, anyway. There's a song called The Black Cup, which has nothing at all to do with what I've just said. Well, it has in that it's about body snatching, but it's body selling, actually, I suppose, yeah. Well, never mind, I'm getting confused. I'll sing this song. It's getting bloody confused, anyway. A song with some body in it, I might add. These are the jokes, folks. I'm singing the golden shot. All right. If you'll listen a while, I will sing you a ditty concerning of a doctor who lived in Cartown by seaman so bold he was fairly outwitted, and 50 gold guineas was forced to lay down. Well, these jolly jack tars and their comrades and grog, their money being spent and their credit far gone, from Fairport right down to the quayside of Ramble in search for to find a bit money for fun. Now the cook of our ship being one of our number, well, a bold lad was he, and his colour was black. For wit and for wisdom he always was ready to think of a way to get cash in a crack. Then up spoke the cook, I have heard people say, a corpse might be sold quite easily here. Come take me alive, tie me up in me hammock, and sell me to buy all your whiskey and beer. Well, the sailors were glad to accept of his offer, and it's away to the house where the doctor didn't dwell, and into his ears they most softly did whisper, saying, Doctor, we have a fine corpse for to sell. Well, the doctor cried out like one in amazement, oh, where did you get him? Come tell me, I pray. Come bring him and fetch him unto me this evening, and 50 gold guineas to you I will pay. So the sailors were glad to accept of his offer, and it's back to the ship where they quickly did steer. And now pay attention to all I may mention, and the rest of my story you quickly shall hear. Well, they took that black cook, tied him up in his hammock, but he being a lad both sturdy and strong, it's under his coat by way of protection he carried a blade about half a yard long. So it's round about dusk, when the streets were deserted, that the sailors struck out with the cook on them backs. When they came to the house where the doctor resided, it's in a dark room they concealed that poor black. Well, the doctor came up and he paid down their money. They told him the cook he had died out at sea, and rather than have his dead body to bury, we've sold him to you, sir, he's out of our way. So the doctor soon went for some tools to dissect him, and then he came down with a saw in his hand. When he came to the room where the cook had been lying there, boldly did Jack stand with cutlass in hand. Well, the doctor cried out like one in amazement, for the thought that the cook was a very rich prize. In a voice loud as thunder, Jack boldly did blunder, saying, Damn your eyes, doctor, I'll skin you alive. So the doctor was forced to retreat in a hurry, and of his late bargain was soon to lament. And Jack hurried off to where his comrades was drinking, and the rest of that evening was merrily spent. Merrily spent. It's an Irish song, again, called it's different from the other one I sang, actually. It's just called The Lakes of Charlene. And so the way I found this song is rather surreal, actually, because well, it's not real anyway. It comes from a book which was compiled by a Viennese gentleman called John Brune, which amazes me that a Viennese gentleman would want to sort of make collections of Irish songs and English songs. It's fantastic, that. He's also achieved the distinction of being the only man to ever send Ewan McCall snails through the post, actually, this fella. He's a really strange fella. He's an odd fella altogether. This is It's a good song. It's a good song, but the rest of the book's bloody crap, actually. He's written most of them himself. But this is a nice song called Lakes of Charlene. It's about an Irishman who jumps into a lake and not realising that he can't swim, basically. Right. You've got to be careful when you say that, actually. I said it in all the other night and nearly got smashed. It was early one morning, young Willie arose, and straight to his comrades' bed and chamber he goes, saying, "Rise up, dear comrade, and let nobody know 'tis a fine summer's morning, and a bathing we'll go. To the lakes of Charlene these two comrades soon came, and the first man they met was the keeper of game, saying, "Turn back, young Willie, and turn back again. There isn't deep and false waters in the lakes of Charlene." But young Willie plunged in, and he swam the lake round till he came to an island. It was soft marshy ground. "Oh, comrade, dear comrade, I pray do not venture in. There isn't deep and false waters in the lakes of Charlene." It was early the next morning, his sister arose, and straight to her uncle's bed and chamber she goes, saying, "Uncle, dear uncle, I dreamt of Willie last night. He was dressed in a shroud of snow white." It was early that morning, his mother came there. She was wringing her hand, she was tearing her hair, crying, "Woeful the hour young Willie plunged in. There isn't deep and false waters in the lakes of Charlene." I'll finish off with this one. It's one from your neck of the woods, this. It's called The Great Silky of Sulskerry, but this isn't. If any of you collected those sort of cylindrical recordings of Joan Baez in the 1950s, it's not quite the same, because the tune, I understand, well, it's an original tune anyway. I don't know where it comes from, apart from the fact that I had it on tape. Somebody gave me a tape and I found it on the tape. I don't know which one it is or where it comes from, but it obviously comes up from up here because I couldn't understand it. It's like this. Not quite like that, actually, it goes. That's it. An earthly nurse sits and sings, and she sings, "My little queen, sing little, no, I Ben's father, far less the land that he dwells in. Then one arose at her bed foot, and a grisly guest, I'm sure was he, saying, here am I, thy Ben's father, although I be not comely, I am a man upon the land, I am a silky in the sea, and when I'm far and far from land, my home it isn't so scary. It was not well, said the lady fair, it was not well, indeed, said she, that the great Silky of Salisbury should have come and got a Ben by me, and he has taken a person gold, and he has laid it on her knee, saying, give to me my little young son, and take you up your nurse's fee, for it shall come to pass on a summer's day, when the sun shines bright as every stone, that I will take my little young son, and I'll teach him how to swim the pond, and you shall marry a gunner good, and a right fine gunner I'm sure he'll be, and the very first shot that e'er he fires will kill both my young son and me. The own part of the country from Yorkshire, called a drowned sailor, which is basically about a sailor getting drowned. The song comes from round about Whitby area. Actually happened at Robin Hood's Bay, the incident in this song, which is near Nottingham. On Stoke Row, a young maid did dwell. She loved a handsome sailor, he loved her quite as well. Promised he would marry her when back he did. did return. Ah, what cruel hardships lie on the raging main, as they were sailing by night. The moon it was shaded and dismal was the night. Storm it was a raging and the waves the vessel bore, till it dashed these poor sailors all on that rocky shore. Now some of them were single, some of them had wives. All of these poor sailor lads had to swim for their lives. This unhappy sailor who tried his life to save, instead of being married, he's found a watery grave. And as she was a-walking from Stowborough to Bay, she spied a drowned sailor that on the sands did lay. Nearer she's come to him, it's brought her to a stand. She spied it was her true love by the mark upon his hand, and she's kissed him, caressed him 10,000 times, oh Lord, and said these awful billows have washed my love ashore. And then this pretty damsel, she's laid down by his side, and in a few moments she's kissed him and died. Now this couple was a-buried in Robin Hood's churchyard, for the May memorial stone at their head was raised. All of you true lovers that do this way pass by, pray shed a tear of pity from out your glistening eye. This song was written by Ian Matthews when he was in a group called Plain Song. It's about Amelia Earhart, who distinguished herself by being the first woman to fly the Atlantic solo. She was a sort of archetypal women's liberationist, you know, the first woman to fly the Atlantic solo in a plane, of course. And she then flew around the world, set off on this round-the-world flight with a fellow called Frederick Noonan, and they disappeared somewhere between New Guinea and a place called the Howland Isle, and everybody wrote very bad country and western songs about her then. But in 1960, a bloke called Frederick Gurner, who was a CBS news reporter, was writing a sort of biography of her, and he went out there to sort of do some research. And he found a couple of eyewitnesses to say that she'd been forced down by Japanese fighters into a place called Saipan, and that they'd burnt the plane and imprisoned her and beheaded poor old Frederick Noonan. This is called The True Story of Amelia Earhart. Take it or you leave it, but I'll tell it anyhow. There's a story you should know. Amelia was a hero in all of our that's what they want you to know. She landed in the headlines on the first day of July, when Electra hit the ocean bed, flying 1,500 miles from her allotted course. Not what all the newsstands said. Oh, Amelia, it's true, you're the lady of the air. This I'm not disputing anyhow. But if what Mr. Gurner says is only half true, Amelia, left with Captain Noon and her navigating force, from New Guinea to the Howland Isle. 30 minutes fuel left, no landfall came the cry. All of us believed them for a while. For 30 days the Lexington and others searched the sea, before pronouncing Earhart lost. All was going smoothly and the senators relaxed. Amelia and Noonan paid the cost, but a CBS man, Gurner, was confused by all the facts. He said there's someone telling lies. Amelia's plane was not the one they detailed in the news. Fuel tanks alone were twice that size. Oh, Amelia, it's true, you're the lady of the air. This I'm not disputing anyhow. But if what Mr. Gurner says is only half true, Amelia, Jesus Salas was one of many who had no cause to lie. He was working in the harbor on that day when Saipan was a wartime stronghold of the Japanese. Jesus saw the flyers led away. So who's to point the finger more? So who's to say what's right? Me, I just wanted you to hear how brave Amelia Earhart, First Lady of the Air, Frederick Noonan ended their career. Oh, Amelia, it's true, you're the lady of the air. This I'm not disputing anyhow. But if what Mr. Gurner says is only half true, Amelia, oh, Amelia, Is a song that doesn't get sung very much, well, not in my area anyhow. I couldn't sort of speak for anywhere else, but it doesn't in my area, which is a pity really, because it's a good song, and it's one of those that Carthy got hold of very early doors, and everybody seems to regard him as his personal property and all that. It's called Lord Franklin. It goes like this. It was homeward bound one night on the deep, swinging in me hammock I fell asleep. I hadn't dreamed a dream, and I thought it true concerning a Franklin and his gallant crew. With 100 seamen he sailed away, to that frozen ocean in the month of May. For to seek that passage around the pole where we poor sailors must sometimes go, and his men through cruel hardship did go. His ship o'er mountains of ice was drove, when the Eskimo in his skin canoe was the only one that ever came through. In Baffin Bay where the whalefish blow, oh, the fate of Franklin no man may know. Oh, the fate of Franklin no tongue can tell. Lord Franklin along with his sailors do dwell. And now my burden it gives me pain, for me long lost Franklin I'd cross the main. £10,000 would I freely give to no one earth, if me Franklin do live. John sang a song earlier on about with this really incredible rhymes at the end of the lines in the song he sang, and this one is very similar in a way. It's not quite as obvious as the one John sang. But I think it's banal. But I've got a theory about this song actually. This song's called Corsand Bay. I was just about right actually. And it was collected by a gentleman who was called the Reverend Sabine Baring Gould in Devon. It was collected, and just outside Plymouth. And it's really a bloody lousy song, honestly. It's an amazingly bad song. And therein, I think, John's the same. The charm lies in the fact that they're so bloody bad, these songs. You know, it's bloody great, really. If you see what I mean, you know. But I have a theory, you know, that these folk song collectors were very sort of, particularly in England, I don't know what they were like up here, but they were very unsympathetic. Like, I mean, there's documented cases of the bloke who collected in my area, Yorkshire, Frank Kidson, collecting a song off a bloke on his dying bed, which no doubt sort of accounts for the great variation in tune and range and all that, you know. There you go. But this Reverend Sabine Baring Gould was collecting in South Devon, and I'm convinced that what happened in this case is that you know, our news travels very quickly from village to village. I'm sure they said, yeah, there's another of those bloody folk song collectors knocking about, you know. And I think they wrote this one for him, actually. It's such a bloody rotten song. It's great, and it's got a refrain line at the end of each verse if you want to join in with it. In Corsand Bay lying, with blue Peter flying, and all hands turned up for the anchor to weigh. There came a young lady, as fresh as a Mayday, so modestly hailing. This damsel didn't say, so modestly hailing, this damsel did say, oh, I want a young man there, do you hear? Bear a hand there to hoist hoist me on board, or to send him to me. His name's Henry Grady, and I am a lady just newly come up for to take him from sea. Just newly come up for to take him from sea. And the captain of his honour, when he looked upon her and down the ship's side for to haul her aboard, says he with emotion, what son of the ocean can thus be looked after by Eleanor Ford? Can thus be looked after by Eleanor Ford? Then the lady made an answer, that there is me man, sir, I'll make him as free and as fine as a lord. That there, said the captain, can't very well happen. I've got sailing orders, you sir stay on board. I've got sailing orders, you sir stay on board. Avast, says the lady, don't mind him, Henry Grady. He once was your captain, but now you're at large. You shan't stay aboard her for all that chap's order. And out of her bosom she pulled his discharge. Then out of her bosom she pulled his discharge. Says the captain, says he, now I'm blessed, but he's free now, says I'll let old Weatherface keep all me clothes. Ashore then he steered her, and all the chaps cheered her, but the captain wasn't jealous, and looked down his nose. Oh, the captain wasn't jealous, and looked down his nose. And he got education quite fit for his station, for we know we ain't never too old for to learn. His shipmates, they found him with young uns all around him, just chips off the old block from the stem to the stern. Just chips off the old block from the stem to the stern. A song called The Duke of Gordon's Daughter. This is a love song. It's a Scots song actually called The Duke of Gordon's Daughter, which is a love song, and it's one of the few songs I know in which love sort of triumphs over all obstacles. It's quite unrealistic, of course, but probably a figment of somebody's fantasies or something like that, you know. And it even sort of triumphs over the obstacle of money in the end, and I reckon it must be written by sort of Hans Christian Andersen and all the Brothers Grimm or something like that. It's a nice song. Duke of Gordon had 3 daughters, Elizabeth, Margaret and Jean, but they would not stay in bonny Castle Gordon, but would go to bonny Aberdeen. And they had not been in Aberdeen, no, but a 12-month and a day, when Lady Jean fell in love with Captain Ogilvy, and with him she would go. Word came to the Duke of Gordon in the chamber from where he lay, saying Lady Jeans fell in love with Captain Ogleby, and with him she would go. Duke of Gordon has wrote a broad letter, and he sent it to the king, asking him to hang Captain Ogleby if ever he hanged a man. Oh, I will not hang Captain Ogleby for any lord that I can see, but I'll cause him to put off the lace and scarlet and put on a soldier's livery. Lady Jean had not been married but a year, but maybe 3, when she's got a babe on every arm and another one upon her knee. And it's so, but I'm weary of wandering, and it's all but me fortune's bad, for it suits not the Duke of Gordon's daughter to be following a soldier lad. When she came to Castle Gordon, and it's down upon the green that the porter gave out the loud shout, yonder comes bonny Lady Jean. And it's over the seas went the captain, as a soldier under command, but a message soon followed him after, to bear unto his brother's land. When he came to Castle Gordon, and it's down upon the green that the porter gave out with a loud shout, yonder comes Captain Ogleby. Ah, come in, pretty Captain Ogleby, and drink of the beer and wine, and thou shalt have gold and silver to count until the clock strikes 9. Oh, it's I want none of your gold and silver, nor any of your white money, but I will have bonny Lady Jeanie, and she shall come with me. Ah, you're welcome, bonny Lady Jeanie, with my young family. Rise and go up to Northumberland, there a countess you shall be. It's a song that Alice Cooper really liked when he was staying with us the other week. This is the way it's all going to go in 75, this. This is heavy metal folk music, this. It's all full of riffs and all that. Jolly mariners that loves to take a tramp, I'll tell you of a robber bold that o'er the seas did come, and he's wrote a letter to his king on the 11th of July, to see if he would accept of him for his jovial company. Oh no, no, says the king, such things can never be, for I fear you are a robber on the sea. So he has built a bonny ship and sent her off to sea, with 24 mariners to guard his bonny ship we rock on. And they've sailed up and they've sailed down, so stately, blithe and free, until they spied the king's reindeer a-sailing on the sea. Oh, why lie ye here, ye tinkers, ye silly cowardly thieves? Why lie ye here, ye tinkers, and hold our king in grief? And they fought from 1 o'clock in the morn till it was 6 at night, until the king's high reindeer was forced to take a flight. Go home, ye tinkers, and tell your king from me, that though he reign king upon good dry land, I will reign king upon the sea. School's out for summer, school's out forever. Here's a Dorry Previn song. It's called Mythical Kings and Iguanas, this. And for any Dorry Previn freaks amongst you, I've left the middle bit out because I didn't understand it. It's all about I Ching and all sorts of peculiar philosophy that I didn't quite sort of grasp, so I've left that out. All his booze, and they considered that was antisocial, so they chucked me out. Alright, it was like this Dorry Previn, Mythical Kings. I've flown to star-stained heights on bent and battered wings, in search of mythical kings, thinking everything of worth was in the sky, not the earth, and I never learned to make my way down, 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 where the iguanas play. I have written a comet's tales in search of magic rings, to conjure mythical kings, mythical kings, singing scraps of angel song. High is right, low is wrong, and I never taught myself to give. Down, 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 where the iguanas live. Curse the mind that mounts the clouds in search for magic rings. Only mystical things, mystical things. Private the soul that will not face the body as an equal place, and I'll never learn to touch for real or see the things iguanas feel. Down, down, down where they play. Going home is such a ride. Going home is such a ride. Isn't going home a lone, lonely ride? Going home is such a ride. Going home is such a ride. Isn't going home a lone, lonely ride? I've flown to star-stained heights, some bent and battered wings, in search of mythical kings, mythical kings, singing scraps of angel song. High is right, low is wrong, and